What are you looking at? Hi, this is Hosean, and together with Stanley, my brother, who's staring at this computer screen right now because he's very stressed about this episode.
Script's in front of me.
Welcome to the Leong-Form. Now, we don't know how you're feeling this moment, but I'm feeling quite happy because today we have a very special guest, and it's right up my alley, the topic we're going to talk about today.
That's right. A guest that will lift our spirits. Woo. No. The alcoholic sort we're talking about. It's not Halloween yet, right? No. There are many types of spirits. I mean, tequila, rum, gin, vodka, whiskey, bourbon. Oh, bourbon, yeah. Brings me back to Kentucky when I actually visited a bourbon distillery. But anyhow, that's a different story. The list goes on. There are many types of spirits. But today, we thought that we would like to talk about something more familiar with most of us tuning in. We're talking about wine. Now, if you're like me, pretty gundu about it. I mean, we know, yes, the reds, the whites, but you know, what else do we know beyond that, apart from maybe how to properly hold a wine glass or swirl it around and look professional when the...
Why do you look professional when you drink wine? Just drink it,
No,
right?
I mean, there's a certain sequence, right?
Okay, there's a lot more to
The
wine.
sniffing and all.
Yes. There's a lot of people I see at restaurants pretending they know what they're doing, but actually they don't. It's
So
just
you
a
can
show.
tell the fakeco.
Anyway, with us today, we do have a master class with our guest François Barel, a wine educator who lectured at Nanyang Poly, where they used to offer, they still do, I think, a diploma of food and beverage, wine, spirits, and mixology. That sounds like a really fun course.
Yeah.
Now, François is also with a fine wine merchant, Grand Vin. So, welcome.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Happy to
you.
be
Now,
here.
first things first, Francois, how do we appreciate wine? Because I know my brother enjoys his wine. He has been to a lot of events where they serve wine. He comes back drunk.
Hey, happy. Let's say happy. Don't say drunk.
So how can one fully appreciate wine apart from just it being a beverage at a party?
Right. So, well, it's a very personal appreciation, I guess. So if you want to appreciate wine, just find what you like, eliminate what you don't like, and then it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be pretentious. There is a lot of cultural background to wine, especially in France, but you have a magnificent supply in Singapore. You can find wines from every corner of the world. And there is plenty of different tastes and preferences, and each of us prefer something different. So you can tailor your wine to the purpose, like if you're drinking for lunch or dinner or a weekend or party, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It's really really
Something that you...
It's very personal, I think.
Yeah, you like.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering also, that given that, Francois, you represent so many different brands as well, and would you see a certain preference of what types of wine that Singaporeans tend to gravitate towards?
Yes, definitely red wines. Red wines are a lot more popular. I mean, the proportion of what we deal and what we sell and what we drink in Singapore, the red have a massive lead.
I'm surprised to hear that,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. No, I mean, because of the weather, you would expect some people drinking something a bit lighter,
fresh and-
refreshing, and like champagne or white or rosé. Rosé makes perfect sense for any European who come to Singapore because it's like a summer vibe. But no, rosé is not drunk most of the time here. in
Okay,
here, yeah.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah. So and heavy reds like Bordeaux. Californian, Australian
Capsaicins,
reds, more than the lighter type.
Yeah, I would expect like a Pinot Noir or something like that.
Yeah,
But it's interesting because because the reason why I got into wine was because when I studied in France, you had no choice. You got forced to drink.
It's like water over there.
It's cheaper than water. What about this? What you said is true. Back then, when we were growing up, there were hardly any wines in Singapore. The wines that came here were really too expensive, or they were bottom of the range wines. I won't mention names from Australia, but you get those, and you go like, oh, I wouldn't buy that. It's paint stripper, it's vinegar. But now with this huge variety we've got in Singapore and the options, how does one compare, for example, old world wines from France, and then you've got these new ones coming up? It's so hard for us to choose, and the great varietals are different. How does one as a merchant then decide, like, what do you want to to
Wow,
sell.
okay, so how long is this podcast?
Long.
I can take a few days. Okay, so you mentioned old world, new world. This is usually one of the bigger distinction we used to do between Europe, the old school style being the old world, and the rest of the world, the new world being the US, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, South America.
The rest of the world.
Yeah, that distinction was really legitimate in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but now much less so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the quality of the winemaking around the world is really on par, whether it's Europe or not. Of course, the climate, the weather, the different origins of the wines will still matter. So you will have definitely usually a riper, sweeter, slightly more alcoholic style in the new world, and a more restrained, a more subtle, a bit more austere style in Europe, the old world. But now winemakers, it's a generational shift that winemakers are really pushing mostly towards quality, whether they are in Europe or not. So this difference between old world, new world is really now very tenuous.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So now being in Singapore, you have the luck or the chance to really find fantastic wines from all around the world. It doesn't have to be. It's not good because it's French.
Yeah.
And you can definitely find fantastic wines from Argentina, Chile, New Zealand easily now in Singapore, because it's so easy to ship wine to Singapore that the supply, like you mentioned, has evolved so much that the price are actually quite competitive. The market for us is very competitive here. So it benefits the consumer for sure.
Spoiled for choice.
Spoiled for choice, yes, exactly. I have sampled so many more varieties of wine now that I'm in Singapore, because in France we are still very much tied to where you live.
Right? Yeah.
If you live in the north of France, you're going to drink champagne almost every day because it's cheaper, which is not a bad thing. But if you live in Bordeaux or in Burgundy, you're not going to taste anything else than your own region. It's going to be it's going to be pretty.
So the whole support local concept really works there in France where it concerns wine.
Yes. It's unusual to drink out of your own region. But in Singapore, you have the luck to there is no local region, so you have to drink from anywhere. That's,
which is great though, because I am trying to learn about other wines from other countries. Australia, so far, I'm slowly getting used to it. Wines from South Africa, from Argentina, from Chile, and even now from China as well.
Yes.
Lebanon as well.
Yes.
So it's very interesting to see these places suddenly having wine, producing wine. Why is that so, you think?
Demand and perception that we should have wines coming from different places. So it's interesting you mention Lebanon, because the Bekaa Valley has been producing wine for 2,000 years easily.
Wow.
But it's more of the modern style of producing wine that has really that came up really the quality level really reached the international stage. So you have some kind of gray area in between what's old world, what's new world. Yeah, exactly. In this case, China has been producing like their own traditional rice wine, I guess, for thousands of years as well. But the real Western style of producing wine, for 40 years maybe now. And same thing, the quality really has been really noticeably better for almost a decade already. And so now it's more a question of price, demand, and branding. But you have some wines in Chinese productions that are winning awards in blind tasting.
Really?
So before people get to understand that it's Chinese wine, these wines taste very nice. Yeah.
But it's interesting for you as a wine expert, I would say. what started you on this journey?
Oh,
How did you fall into the wine vat?
So interestingly, I fell very late. I grew up in Champagne, and I mean, I was surrounded by vineyards most of my life in France, but I couldn't care less. It was just
Part of your life.
part of your life. Yeah, it's
Your
not
backyard.
exotic, you know. Then so I was in the F&B industry as a restaurant waiter, manager, etc. And moved to Singapore for the Joël Robuchon restaurant back in 2010.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was part of the opening team in 2010. We opened in 11. We got the stars, etc. And then only I had to get interested in the wine list, being French and one of the few French of the team. To help the client to choose which wines they want. So I only really became serious about learning about wine 12 years ago only.
And here in Singapore.
Here in
How
Singapore,
bizarre.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I grew up in the middle of wineries, and I couldn't. I didn't even bother visiting any of those. And now I really want to kick myself for not like wasting my time there.
Never too late. Never too late.
But never too late. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's how really I started to get serious about wine to represent the soft power of French wine. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, soft power. Now, also in the wine, scene, you hear also of new terms that sometimes, cause our heads to spin a little. The words natural and fortified and biodynamic. Whatever do these words mean?
Non-alcoholic wines as well. Non-alcoholic wine. What's that? Okay, anyway, we'll go into that in just a while.
Is it called a mocktail?
No, not even. Ew.
Okay.
So so some of these terms refer to farming practices, basically, or winemaking practices. So organic or biodynamic basically means no chemicals, a more gentle approach to preserve the vines. So these are more farming techniques. Organic is the really scientifically grounded technique.
Okay.
Biodynamics, this is going to be an interesting subject, and you'll have a lot of people going different directions, but basically it's going further into the natural process to a point where it becomes like really completely mystic. You have to follow the phase of the moon, and there is a specific calendar. So the science on this is still very divided.
Wow.
There is some good background foundation ideas, but it's a difficult subject.
Sounds like new age.
It's very
right?
new age. It's exactly that.
You have to pray to Dionysus
So
or something.
so from my understanding, if the wine is good, if it's made organic, fine. If it's made biodynamically, fine. But as long as the wine is good, then okay. If you do natural wine and you end up with something that smells like I'll try to remain polite.
That's okay.
But you can be like the most gentle with the grapes and the vines. But if your wine at the end is not good, then
There's no
what's
point,
the
really.
point?
Yeah.
It's the output, the outcome.
So you have still to think of logistics and like shipping your wine across borders and oceans and things like that. So some the natural wine scene in Singapore is not very dynamic. It's
Sorry, that's my stomach growling, wasn't it?
I
Because
hear.
no, I want to
Wine
ask.
makes you
wine makes me hungry. No, I want to ask. Okay, for people like wants to buy their first bottle of wine, they go to the bottle shop, for example, or wherever they go to, and they see this whole range of appellation, AOC, vintage, brut, Grand Cuvée, whatever.
yes.
How does one make sense of all this? And maybe
It's
you can
very
just break it down.
intimidating,
Yeah, it is intimidating.
I wouldn't dare step into one.
Yeah.
Maybe after this I would.
I spend like an hour just looking at labels, because I love looking at labels and trying to figure them all out.
So it is very intimidating because it's like suddenly you won't just want a bottle of wine, but you feel like you have to be an expert to actually choose what's good, what's not.
Yeah.
The staff normally is supposed to help you, so you still need to go through some added questions and answers. Yeah, it's
Maybe give us a hack. How can we? What would you go
Okay.
for? Yeah.
So you mentioned brut and like terms like this. So this would refer usually to the sugar level in champagne.
Oh.
So brut, extra brut, nature, or demi-sec. These are all different terms that refer to like more or less sugar in the final drink. You can refer usually to the level of alcohol in the wine. So by law you must have on the label the percentage of alcohol in the wine. So on average you would find wines around 12 to 13 degrees. Usually so big American reds would go up to 14, 15.
Wow.
But this is going to be like hitting harder basically. While so some German sweet wine or Moscato or some sweeter wines usually will have lower alcohol, so 9 to 5 even.
So you can drink more of that.
So you can drink more because there is less alcohol, but there is more sugar.
More sugar.
So you're trading a different problem. But yeah. So what can you get from the label?
I mean, for example, okay, if I there's vintage, for example. What does vintage mean?
So vintage is the year of harvest of the wine.
Okay.
So basically, most wines you will find in Singapore have a specific vintage. So meaning the juice of this wine comes from a specific harvest of grapes from that specific year.
And from one plot or?
And it could be from different plots. It could be from vintage is really like a time stamp. You may not have vintage on everything. So this bottle of champagne, for example, is a blend of different vintages.
Right.
But that's a different thing that they can do in champagne. But mostly, vintage will just indicate you like if this wine is 3, 4, 6 years old, etc. Most of the wine you drink would probably be 3 to 6 year old, which is fine. I mean, again, that depends on the purpose of the wine that you're looking for. So most wines will be drunk pretty young, but if you are looking for like a Bordeaux, then you should probably wait maybe 10, 12 years for a bottle of wine to age properly.
Can I wait that long?
So then that's a different storage and patience issue. But yeah, no, some wines will age for 40, 60 years and get better. Yeah, so it's mostly a curve of the wine being not ready, then at the top, and then not too late.
So not ready, they bottle it when it's not ready to drink.
So most, okay. So a wine that is not ready, so like a young Bordeaux or a young Cristal Champagne, for example, is released on the market when it's young. And then it's on the consumer to pace themselves and keep it for the right time. But of course, the winemaker they have other consideration of cash flow and space issues, so they have to release their production. But they will still advise the public to please be patient and drink it when it's ready. But in the end, it's the consumer's choice.
So is there any truth, Francois, that the older the wine, the better?
Well, it's the older the wine, the rarer for sure. But a wine will reach a peak and plateau at some point, and then fall off if you wait too long. Usually you will wait too long. It's rare to wait too long for a wine, but it can happen. Basically, the key here is the condition of storage.
Right.
And so you need cool and stable temperature to keep your wine in good conditions, and no light. You must keep your wine in the dark.
Yeah. I mean, most HDB flats have bomb shelters, so that might
perfect.
help.
Yeah, that's
At 30 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, if you then it's an aircon issue. Yeah, but yeah, you can keep your wine as long as you like, as long as it's the right conditions.
Yes, keeping all these, especially if you have an expensive bottle of wine, how do people price these wines? Because I was telling you earlier that we over an auction we sold a bottle of Petrus for $5,000. Like, is it because of the name? Is it a brand? Is it because of or what?
Yes. Yeah. So usually a bottle of that rarity and name will.
But why
fetch-
is it rare?
It's rare because it's a very tiny production, and it's and even that production is very closely guarded to a very select list of people who are allowed to buy it.
Wow.
So it's like your Hermes, the best bags of Hermes. You need to buy other smaller items before you can get the real stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's you're paying the name, the rarity, the branding, the marketing, but the wine itself inside is actually not that different from a neighboring chateau, which would be like a fraction of that price. Yeah,
I see.
So there's a certain level of prestige attached to that brand.
Yes.
It's good if we brand ourselves like that.
Indeed.
But we are rare.
Yeah. We are indeed very rare. Only two of us.
And you would release a podcast only once a year, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks for the idea. All right, so let's. I don't know. I mean, Hosein, I think, has been secretly, glancing at the bottle that you brought, Francois, to the studio. It reads, if I'm dyslexic, it reads like Roger Federer, but it's not Roger Federer. I'm thinking tennis, but tell us about this bottle that you brought in.
Right. So that's a bottle of champagne. Because Hosein and I have a relationship with Louis Roederer.
Yeah.
And their star winemaker Jean-Baptiste Le Caillon, and so this I had this in hand while on the way, so I thought that would be a good visual aid for today.
So it's a champagne. So I'm
Yes.
even more confused now, even without alcohol in my bloodstream. Champagnes, wines, are they the same thing, or is champagne part of the wine family?
So it comes from the same thing, the grapes. Champagne, as the famous meme goes, it has to be from that specific region of Champagne in France. Otherwise, it's called something else.
Bubbly.
Bubbly, crémant,
that's
blanquette, cava in Spain, Franciacorta in Italy. It's somewhat the same method. But champagne only can come from this region of France. The base wine originally is made the same way, but champagne has bubbles because there is a bit of magic added afterwards.
You mean that person with the straw?
So
Yeah.
so that's where champagne is very specific. It's because you have a second fermentation happening within the bubble, within the bottle, that will create these bubbles. And so this is a very expensive and lengthy process that makes champagne more expensive than the rest of the sparkling wines. Yes.
Okay. Can we call it aerated wine?
No, you may not.
No. Okay. Soda wine.
Respect.
Come on. Champagne. Champagne
Yeah. So you always have this aluminum foil covering. And then the cage here, this muselet, because you have within that bottle 7 bars of pressure.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So that's why you should be careful when opening one. You may easily hurt someone with the cork. So usually the idea is that
very important.
I'm gonna
you have to
turn my video.
You've done national service, right?
Yeah.
So this is the what holds the cage to the. So you turn 6 times, always 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the cork is if I don't shake it, it will remain there.
Okay.
But now the thing is live. So the idea is just to turn a bit the bottle, then the cork will just loosen itself, and then the pressure will do the rest. Basically, you don't need to pull. No need to pull. You just have to hold the bottle and the cork together, but then the pressure will do the same.
Wow.
And then
That's my friend says that sounds like my grandmother sighing.
yeah, and so basically,
Et voilà.
yeah, you just have like a little sheet.
So you don't even take out the cage. I always take it up and thinking that I need to do it.
I'd
Looks like
rather
you don't
not.
have to, yeah.
I'd
Okay.
rather not. But yeah, that's the idea. So pretty
Eh,
simple.
voila. And funnily enough, we have these kind of cups or goblets. Does the receptacle matter? What
Yes.
shape? What size?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I shouldn't be showing this here, but
That's okay.
no, but
We can
yeah,
explain,
definitely.
yeah.
So actually, that's a very good question. The size and the shape of your glass will matter a lot. Especially for champagne, where we've been used to serving champagne in like these
In the
long
flutes, right?
yeah, which is very pretty for the bubbles. You have like this nice stream of,
Yeah.
that is very instant.
They use that for wedding dinners, right? A lot.
Yeah. Wedding dinners now they
No,
will
they
use
use
the
the
fountain of coupe.
Oh yeah, the fatter one, yeah.
So the
wider one.
flute very nice for pictures. The coupe very nice for the fountain thing.
fountain.
So,
And both are equally bad for the champagne.
Really?
So really good champagne, you should be drinking that in a
From
white wine glass.
Oh.
Really like a classic wine
So
glass.
normal-
So the normal bowl shape, because this will give the champagne enough room to breathe. When we say a wine needs to breathe, is because this wine has been in that bottle for a decade, and there is very little exchange of air with the exterior. So this wine needs to have this air coming up and like to make the champagne taste better.
I see.
This will happen definitely with wines that are very young, like I mentioned Bordeaux. They need that time to age, to soften and have a better flavor profile. It's literally the same idea as when you do tétaré. The
okay,
tare idea is
to get air.
because you boil the water, you are removing oxygen from the water, you're losing flavor. So you're steeping your coffee or tea in that water. The fact of creating all this bubble, this froth will enhance the flavor.
I see. Wow,
And
this
it's
fascinating
Yes,
analogy.
absolutely. And so this is something that people in Asia have known for forever.
Yeah.
And I used to do this experiment with my students to buy a cup of kopi. And then do this tare
Stretching.
thing, and you the same cup, one not pulled, the flavor profile is noticeably different. Yeah,
My goodness.
it's and so yeah, wine does the same thing, champagne does the same thing, every drink does the same thing.
So which means, as I've seen in restaurants, the older wines have to be decanted to
Yep.
let it breathe.
Yes.
To get the flavor.
Yes.
I see. So something like okay, sorry, but am I interrupting this one? I'll let it breathe
No,
first.
yeah,
how
yeah,
long
so-
should it be breathing? Because I'm
So no, this you can drink. That's fine. Yeah, it's been breathing enough.
Okay.
And
And temperature-wise for champagne should be served like what?
so
It's like
chilled,
chilled.
meaning around 8 to 10 degrees at most. Usually you keep your champagne in a ice bucket to be safe. Good champagne you can drink warmer.
Really?
Yes. So a champagne like this, I didn't keep in the ice. So now it's at maybe like 10, 12 degrees.
yes, nice and cool.
And it should be still cool enough,
Chilled.
but not too cold, because
didn't
same thing. The
realize that.
temperature will mask some of the aromas and
If it's
the-
too
the
cold.
flavors. Yes.
Oh, okay. So if I'm okay, this is what I'm trying to. What flavors am I smelling? I'm just smelling champagne, but.
So
what-
interestingly,
oh.
yeah, you have this. So champagne usually most of the time will be more onto like citrus flavors, lemon, orange. You get a bit of this marmalade at the end, due to there's a slight. This champagne is a 242, so it's the harvest of 2017. So right now 2015, it's already a 8-year-old
8-year-old
champagne, if my math is correct.
So yeah.
And so this champagne is not meant for aging. So this is already the end of my stock of the 242.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you. No, but this is a champagne that is it's tasting now very different than from when we tasted it, probably 3 years ago. So the evolution of a champagne like this will affect the flavor profile. At some point, this champagne will not taste nice anymore.
Wow.
In another 5, 10, 15 years, I don't know. It depends on how it's kept. But yeah, so you have something that is a bit more less acidic and a bit more broad and a bit more ripe and
There is
round.
some minerality about it.
Yeah, yes, that's
Say that again.
Mineral. How do you say it?
Minerality.
Yeah, that one. I only have one sip and I can't say
Yeah.
minerality.
So interestingly, because this is the 2017 base vintage, there is a mix of other base wine from older years. So 16, 15, 14, etc. There's a bit of details there. 17 was not a great year in Champagne, and so for example, they didn't produce any Cristal in 17.
Oh.
There won't be any.
So next year there's not gonna be
There's no release of Cristal 2017 next year.
Wow.
So the juice of Cristal actually went into this cuvée.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 2017 went into this.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
My goodness. Interesting.
So yeah, well,
Yeah.
I learned that too late, but I still managed to keep a couple of magnums on the side. But so the minerality, to be more specific, comes from where Champagne, when you grow these grapes, you have a very deep limestone underground. And so this minerality that you can feel is basically the roots of the vines go get all these minerals, some very specific flavor profile from Champagne, and you can feel this actually like mineral water kind of yeah, exactly. I don't know if I can tell the brand, but that's
I don't care. Sponsor us.
So Evian has a very specific flavor profile.
Yeah.
That is slightly sweet, but you can tell very heavy minerals.
Can you taste it? The minerality?
The minerality.
Yes.
All right,
And so
the
some
minerality.
of the best regions in France, so Champagne and Burgundy specifically, have very good limestone soil, very poor topsoil. And so the roots have to dig
Go
deeper
deep, yeah.
in this very poor underground rocks, and get a very distinctive flavor profile like this. That's where you cannot plant grapes anywhere.
Yeah.
Grapes have to suffer. You cannot give too much water and irrigation to your vines, or the roots will just remain on the topsoil, and they won't dig deep enough to
make
get.
them work.
It's interesting you say that because I was driving down the north, the coast in Australia, right? And then where it used to be sand, soil,
Yeah.
now they're growing vines along sand on sandy beaches.
Yep.
I'm surprised because I never thought vines could grow so near the sea.
Yeah.
So it was just so new to me. So now that you mentioned this, it makes sense because then the roots have to go deep in.
Yes.
So
Yeah. No, so wines originally coming from the Middle East, even you had fantastic wines in Egypt, in Greece. Like Santorini has a volcanic soil, and so you have this flavor profile coming up into the wine because the roots are digging deep into a very specific soil, and so yeah, that's why wines is a very deep and complicated subject, because every tiny aspect of how the wine how the vines grow, how the grapes are harvested, how the wine is made, how long have you kept, in what conditions. It's a very, very, very deep subject.
So many factors actually affect it.
Sorry?
So many factors affect the quality of wine.
Yeah. So the more you know about wine, the more you realize that you don't know anything. And
we can't use. I just found out we can't use our Skills Future to go and learn about wine in Singapore.
There isn't a course?
Yeah, they took it away.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm gonna be a sommelier, but now you don't allow me. So, but having said that about factors affecting wine production, climate change is a big issue now.
Yes.
What's happening with the wine industry, because I heard from Jean-Baptiste as well that it's affecting the champagne production.
Mm-hmm.
He was even toying about taking bubbles out of champagne at one point. He was telling us during a tour. I was like, what do you mean? No, champagne must have
Yeah,
bubbles.
champagne always has bubbles.
But maybe that's the next way to go. I'm not sure. So what are your thoughts?
It's so different regions are affected differently. In France, in Champagne, definitely. So Rodora has started to produce still wine. Yeah. So wine like old school regular wine, white and red. Because now the Champagne region, which is very far north in France, has now enough ripeness to produce wine without the bubbles. so that's a new. They used to do still wine like back in history, but now they are restarted because there is enough sunlight and heat to ripen the grapes properly. You have now sparkling wine being produced in England.
Ew.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
so I haven't tested anything yet, but I'm told some are actually pretty impressive.
I've actually heard of a brand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where was it?
There's a few. And in Singapore, you can find them. I'm pretty sure
England.
easily. Germany red wine production is getting better and better. And the Riesling now is fantastic because so back in 40 years ago they had maybe 2-3 good harvests every 10 years. Due to the lack of sunlight and heat, but now every year the Riesling are fantastically ripened and great quality. So yeah, global warming definitely in Europe. So far, the winemakers are not suffering too much. It's bringing a different set of problems, but mostly thanks to our understanding of it, we have solutions to mitigate the issues, basically.
Right.
Definitely, the harvests are coming earlier and earlier in the year. When winemakers used to harvest in like October, sometimes end of October, November. Now, definitely, you harvest end of August or in September. So that's one of the solution to mitigate the ripeness going too fast, too strong.
So there are other problems besides climate change. Maybe I guess also insects, pests, and all that. And so, was there ever a time where the whole industry was affected greatly?
Yeah. So there was the phylloxera issue, but that's old already. But yeah, no, so now not less of an issue now because the same thing, the understanding of these dangers are well understood. But there was a time when the most of the vines in Europe were decimated by phylloxera, which was a disease brought by trade with the US, with the Americas.
Well, there you go.
No judgment there.
No judgment.
But yeah. This could have been like a career ending for the whole wine industry in Europe. But like you mentioned sand, and so sandy soil actually prevent the phylloxera from attacking the roots. And in general now people are using, so winemakers are using American rootstock that are naturally resistant to this disease, and just growing their old classic.
It's very
European
interesting
vines,
because having said that, speaking of America, you brought me to Sonoma.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
It was
When
such a
you
great
was
time and we
working
went
there.
through the vineyards.
So what's the difference between American wines and French wines? Because I find some of the American wines really heavy. But then we went to Sonoma and there was this really nice red that I really liked. And it sounds German. So I don't know how that all came about, the American wines.
Okay, so if you want to go like all the way through history, so the wine production came with the European expansion settlers. And so most of the time, the German, Spanish, French settlers brought some cuttings of their vines with them. And started producing wine 200-300 years ago already in the US. Now the production in the US usually from California at least when you mention Sonoma, Napa, etc. they have a very hot and bright climate,
Yeah.
which makes the usually the grape ripen in very high level of sugar. Very ripe fruits means very high level of sugar, which translates to very high level of alcohol. So you have usually American wines, American reds are quite heavy, and so high in alcohol, high in tannins, very strong flavor profile. While most of the wine regions in Europe, where the ripening is a bit more gentle and long, you have wines that are a bit more subtle and.
What is your preference? What do you like?
Personally, Champagne.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Champagne. Like I said, I wasn't interested in the winemaking then, but the drinking was still a thing. Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I visited Reims, right? Where, is it where you grew up?
Reims, yeah.
Reims, yeah.
Not far. Yeah.
Okay. It's like, if you've been, we should go. We can bring you to France, but then we have no time. The underground in Reims is just amazing. It's just kilometers and tunnels of champagne.
Yes.
Of every house
Yeah.
there. But I heard that they share the grapes or they share the plots. What is that like?
All right. So yeah, in Champagne, what happens is if you visited probably one of the big houses making champagne, what happens is that there is hundreds of different farmers that produce grapes, but then most of these guys actually sell their grapes to a big champagne house that will press it and make champagne with it.
I see.
So some of the Roederer, for example, own their vineyards, and so they control the production from A to Z.
I see. So it's not like a third-party vendor. I sell you my grapes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where there is always the négociant term.
Yeah.
Or just the winemaking house that will buy grapes from wherever they can find juice, because the juice supply is very limited. I mean, you can only produce champagne as long as you have juice. And so the price of grapes has gone up, and so some of these houses now struggle to find enough juice to fill enough bottles to honor their agreement with the market. So yeah, that's where you have issues of supply and demand and the price rise and.
Oh my goodness, didn't realize that all that was happening in back end.
Yeah, but given that there's this, disparity between demand and supply, are there, people who try to do not too decent stuff to make sure that they are still pumping out what they need to pump out to honor that contract? I mean, do you know of any of these stories and cases?
I don't know many stories. So in Champagne, I'm pretty sure we're safe. I mean, nobody is going to try anything.
Yeah, because you control, right?
Yeah. I mean, the it's not so much the law that's controlling everyone. It's just the neighbors are watching. Watching each other and like making sure. Where is the juice coming from? But you do have companies who are diversifying their portfolio. So Roederer does champagne in Champagne, but they also do some sparkling wine in California now as well. And so big companies like these have the power and the means to actually study which region other than theirs or historically has potential for producing this type of wine, etc. So Roederer House actually now produce rosé through Provence domain.
Yes, I've seen
domaine Haute. Domaine Haute, fantastic rosé in Provence.
Oh, okay.
Some Bordeaux Chateau as well is under their own portfolio. Pichon-Lalande, exactly. Very, very popular in Singapore.
Yeah.
Roederer Estate in California, like I mentioned. Some port also in Portugal.
Okay.
So
it's good to diversify.
Yeah, usually I think the key right now, if you can, as a winemaker, is to really diversify yourself through different regions so that you're not so vulnerable when the weather in one region will bankrupt you. At least you have several other productions to save you.
Yeah, weather or tariffs or anything like that.
Okay. Debunk the myth of Beaujolais for me because I don't understand it at all. Because I've tried it, like the first, what you call it, the
Beaujolais Nouveau.
Beaujolais Nouveau,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why am I drinking this? It's horrible. I'm sorry, Beaujolais fans, but
Beaujolais Nouveau is was a gimmick.
There you go.
That I mean to just put it very bluntly, that was launched maybe in the 80s, 90s. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it became so popular that people would immediately associate Beaujolais to Beaujolais Nouveau.
Yeah.
While no, Beaujolais has had a fantastic regular wine production for forever, as long as Burgundy. So some of the Beaujolais winemakers would tell you some of their vineyards used to be as expensive as the Burgundy type. I mean, there are two neighboring regions, although there is some differences in soil. But Beaujolais has always been producing very, like world-class wines. Now the problem is like Beaujolais Nouveau, was the only thing people would associate with Beaujolais at
what a
all.
waste, because I would love to taste a good Beaujolais.
There is plenty. We have plenty in Singapore, but the problem is that they are difficult to sell.
Because of this
because of
Nouveau.
the bad rap and so if Beaujolais Nouveau is fun if you're a student and you want to drink cheap stuff.
So basically, let me explain. Beaujolais Nouveau is just like once a year, right?
Yes.
The first crop or something. I don't know what it means.
Third Friday of November is the Beaujolais Nouveau is released. So it's basically wine that has been made in like a record 3 months, something like this. So it's really
Express.
It's like your instant coffee in the wine industry.
It's terrible and it's cheap.
It's very cheap. It's supposed to be just for one party and then you forget about it
Because you won't remember.
But it became like the workhorse of not to name him but Duboeuf.
Right.
Who made Beaujolais Nouveau like a
tradition,
the international portmanteau of Beaujolais, and so it is still popular in Japan. the Beaujolais Nouveau has still.
It's kind of died down, right?
In France, people care locally in Lyon, I guess. But most of the rest of France don't drink that much.
In the streets and everything, and
no, that was a protest for something.
But yeah,
Context,
so after I tasted Beaujolais Nouveau, I'm like, this can't be the whole. It can't be representative of the whole region.
It's a wine that will taste of like a specific profile because it's made in a specific style.
Okay, so I must give it a chance again.
But Beaujolais, Beaujolais as a whole, Moulin à Vent and Saint-Amour, and there is like a dozen different crus that are fantastic.
And what flavor profile? Because I'm familiar with the Pinot Noir from Bourgogne and all that.
So Beaujolais plants Gamay, which is similar enough to Pinot Noir, although they have a more granitic soil instead of limestone in Burgundy. So granitic in Beaujolais, and so you have a wine that is slightly more rustic, a bit more red fruit. It's very close to what you would find in southern Burgundy with Pinot Noir. So these winemakers now are they don't want to redo or to release any Beaujolais Nouveau anymore, and they do like age-worthy, fantastic quality Gamay, and you can find Gamay in many different countries as well now.
Right.
So Gamay
Gamay is I like it. It's what's the other one that starts with G? Grenache as well. I like that kind of profile where it's a bit more fruity and. I guess.
Grenache, another type of grape, but produced in slightly different regions as well. But it's a very, very deep subject, yeah, for sure.
Oh, I should have gone to school and studied this instead of
Never too late. Just
electronics.
hopefully they'll
But-
put
but-
it back in that
But
course.
if you go to any restaurant with a sommelier, they will be more than happy to advise you on all of this, yeah, for sure. We're all dying to share this knowledge that we've been bottling up for
Yeah.
For other
So how
people.
do you want to go and study wine?
Um,
You're more a beer person, aren't you?
no. More a plain water person.
Plain water.
But Francois, is there like a right time, right occasion to open up a bottle of wine or champagne?
No.
Because I know, like my brother was telling me prior to us, our conversation, that there are certain pastries that you can't order throughout the day, right, Zen? You're telling me.
you eat your croissant, your pain au chocolat for breakfast, and then lunch you eat, I don't know, something else, and eclair, and then
Yeah, there
creme
is
brulee
a
for
procedure
dinner.
and the right time for a right pastry, right? But in terms of wine and champagne, is there
Okay,
in
so
France?
yeah, that's a loaded question
Yeah,
too.
it's a cultural question.
Okay, the easy answer in wine, in the whole wine, you don't know what to drink champagne.
I agree.
This is the champagne will never go out of style.
Okay.
You can drink it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, all around the night.
Right.
Any time of the year, no problem. Any celebration, good or bad, you need champagne.
Good or bad.
I'm paraphrasing some famous quote, but yeah, the champagne is the easy solution.
Yes.
After that, whether it's white, rosé, or red, what will depend is what you prefer first. What kind of food are you eating? If you're eating anything, it's usually warmer weather like we have in Singapore. I would personally prefer drinking white or rosé or light red.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's winter and then we are having some heavy cheese cream food in France, then something a wine that has a bit more power and character would make sense. It's like seasons. So you have certain fruits and vegetables available at certain point of the year. And it's a concept that is a bit difficult to visualize in Singapore.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Singapore especially, you are lucky to have like a supply of wine from all around the world available at any time.
Yeah.
There's nothing right or wrong in terms of, let's say, everyone says,
Yes.
fish, you must drink white wine. No, you must drink red wine. No. There's no rule, right?
There's
actually?
no rule. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to. There's no wine police that's going to come and.
Before people will go like, why are you drinking red wine with your fish?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
In France, people will roll their eyes
Really?
still, but now the thing is we are a bit more understanding and
All the plebeians and tourists that come.
But okay, let's put it simply: don't do a sangria with Petrus.
Oh no.
Don't.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, if it's an expensive wine, keep it for a special occasion.
Yeah.
At least. If daily drinking bottles, anything that you can find around $40, $50, $60, $80, do whatever you like with it. There's no punishment.
I guess there's no right or wrong at the end of the day what
Yeah.
you like. But I've heard stories about people using some brands or champagne or wines and doing silly things with them.
What a waste.
What are all those stories that you've heard?
It's okay. Trying to find an analogy, if you go to Japan and you order some very expensive sencha in Kyoto, are you going to put sugar or milk in it?
No.
Yeah.
So what have people done with the wines?
No, exactly. So that's the thing. You always have this issue of I buy that bottle, I can do whatever I want with it. Yeah, but you're not respecting like thousands of years of culture and it, in wine in France or in Europe is very heavily coded. Religious code, psychologically, it's culturally very, very intense for us what you do with your wine. So sencha in Japan, plenty of other drinks.
No ice, right?
Yeah. So ice is
Yes.
yeah.
So can I look at all those people out there, put ice in your Chardonnay? And your rosé.
But again, no. So you will have some French people who tell you no. I mean, like a cheaper rosé from Provence. You can put 2 cubes of ice.
Okay.
And no. It's not going to damage the wine that much. Yeah. But
you see the horror on my face when I see some people put ice in their wine. I'm like, what?
yeah.
It's too concentrated. I want it diluted.
Oh, then drink grape juice or something. Anyway, it's been a wonderful chat with you, François, learning so much about wine, even though, Stanley might not know much and I know a little bit. Sharing this bottle of wonderful Louis Roederer Collection 242, your last bottle.
I don't have that much.
So thanks for being with us on the Leong-Form. Anything you want to add on?
No, I just want to say also, I mean, given that you brought in this bottle and it's got, aged wines, even from as far back as 2009, there's something romantic about it as well. It takes us back in time and it brings time to the current time that we are having this conversation as well. So, I don't know, I just like that whole sense of history coming to present.
Yeah.
Exactly. So wine is to be shared. Santé, all the best for this year.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, and here's to champagne. Thank you. We'll see you soon on Leong-Form.
Ta-ta!